Feel the cold air pressing against your cheek as you stare into the screen's artificial light. Your room feels heavy and solid, surrounded by the familiar objects you have seen for years. You look at your hands and see flesh and bone, a permanent shell in a vast universe. But the quality of the silence behind your ears has already changed its fundamental frequency. There is a subtle hum in the marrow of your bones that was not there yesterday morning. You are scanning the horizon for a grand event, ignoring the sudden pressure currently building behind your eyes. The world has already become thinner, yet you insist on treating it with your old, heavy logic. You believe reality is a fixed stage when it is actually a pliable arrangement of raw data. Every morning you wake up expecting the same walls, and the universe dutifully provides them for your comfort. This isn't stability. It is the fossilization of your perception in a field of infinite potential. Most individuals spend their entire existence fighting shadows while ignoring the projector humming inside their own chest. You feel a weight in your heart that no doctor can explain or soothe with a pill. It is the friction of a consciousness that no longer fits the rigid geometry of survival. Your ears buzz with a high-pitched frequency that speaks of a logic you haven't yet learned to decode. Notice how time has started to move in waves, stretching and collapsing without any warning. You reach for a memory and find it has lost its emotional charge in a blink. The stories you use to tell about yourself feel like a script written by a distant stranger. This is the first signal that your internal broadcast is already moving into a new octave. Most people fear this void, but for you, it is the 0 point of total sovereign power. You notice a strange heat in your palms while you are doing nothing more than sitting still. Your skin feels sensitive, as if the air itself has become a liquid substance you are wading through. The objects in your room seem less dense, vibrating at a pitch that makes previous certainty feel fragile. You are not losing your mind, you are losing the limitations that once made your mind feel safe. The manager within you is panicked because it can no longer predict the next movement of the world. It wants to go back to the predictable struggle, but the doors to that timeline are being sealed. You find yourself staring at the wall, realizing the light hitting the surface is more alive than you were taught. There is a pulse in your blood that matches the rhythm of a star you cannot see. You feel a sudden urge to be alone, away from the chatter of those who are still asleep. Their problems sound like a language you have forgotten how to speak or even understand. Their fears look like shadows on a screen that you have finally decided to turn off. You are being asked to witness the collapse of your old identity without trying to save the pieces. It is a terrifying grace to realize everything you thought was permanent was only a temporary filter. The Arcturian perspective is not a theory you learn, but a frequency you inhabit with every breath. We see the way you clutch old grievances as if they were life rafts in a storm. But the storm is the only thing that can wash away the debris of your conditioning. You are being upgraded to a voltage that your previous wiring simply cannot support. This is why you feel exhausted even after a full night of restless and strange sleep. Your DNA is a library currently being reorganized by a hand you cannot see. Stop trying to figure out the how with a brain designed for survival, not for expansion. Logic is a tool for the three-dimensional plane, but you are now operating in a multi-dimensional field. Feel the soles of your feet tingle as you connect to a grid that doesn't rely on electricity. You are a bridge between two worlds, and the bridge is currently under intense construction. Every doubt you have is just a memory of a version of you that no longer exists. Why do you insist on mourning a prison just because the walls were familiar to your touch? The divergence is happening now, splitting the collective into those who react and those who observe. You are learning the power of the observer, the one who does not flinch when the mirror cracks. This is the sobriety of the master, the one who knows that reality is a pliability of focus. You see the chaos on the news and recognize it as the necessary decay of a dying paradigm. You don't need to fix the world, you need to stabilize the one who perceives it. Every moment of presence is a surgical strike against the matrix of your mind. Pause. Breathe into the space behind your heart, where the silence is absolute and unshakable. You are not waiting for a portal to open, because you are the portal itself. The light you seek is already domesticating your shadows, turning them into fuel for your journey. You are becoming unrecognizable to those who knew you only by your scars and your fears. The stories of your past are not facts. They are merely the narratives you have chosen to prioritize over the eternal present. Every time you explain why you are stuck, you are issuing a new and binding command to the entire holographic field. You are meticulously rehearsing the very reality you claim to be fighting with all your frantic effort. Stop looking for a glowing door in the sky and start noticing the heavy density of the air around your shoulders. The Council observes your timeline not as a series of events, but as a single pulse of frequency, seeking total alignment. There is a specific frequency of peace that is currently sitting in your own marrow, waiting for your attention to find it. You have been trained to react to every ripple on the surface of your life while ignoring the ocean beneath. The truth is that the divergence has already happened, and your place on the bridge is determined by your internal stability. You are not a guest in this galaxy. You are the owner of the perception that allows the galaxy to exist at all. The manager in your head is terrified of this revelation because it means the end of its long and exhausting reign. Every thought of lack is a micro-betrayal of the divine identity you are currently claiming to seek with such intensity. You walk into your kitchen and see the same objects, believing they are evidence of a world that refuses to change. But these objects are merely the crystallized remains of your previous thoughts, held in place by your constant, fearful observation. Stop and listen to the silence behind the noise of your mind. It is here where the real movement occurs, far away from the frantic attempts to fix your external circumstances. You feel a pressure in your chest when you think about your bank account or your broken relationships. This pressure is not a reaction to the outside world, but the physical manifestation of your own resistance to what is. You are trying to paint a new picture on a canvas that is already soaked in the ink of your old fears. To start fresh, you must be willing to let the old canvas burn completely, even if it leaves you feeling exposed. Realism is just a fancy name for the habit of observing only what has already happened. The discomfort rising in your chest right now is the proof that you are already trying to interpret this shift through the very filters that are currently dissolving. What you call a cosmic event is actually a reorganization occurring entirely within your own patterns of attention. This transition doesn't happen in the distant sky. It is a movement of your consciousness, adjusting its internal focus. Without realizing that the real place of change is your own mind, you will continue to wait for a rescue that has already begun behind your eyes. The Arcturian frequency is not a theory to be studied, but a sober recalibration of how you choose to process your immediate reality. Stop looking outside. The logic of the shift is happening in the silence of your own breath. I know you've felt that silent, persistent weight in your heart lately, that whisper suggesting the world isn't quite what the voices of authority taught you. It is a direct signal that your soul recognizes a truth your logic hasn't yet identified, a frequency finally ready for something deeper. There is a specific game being played in layers the average person will never perceive, involving your frequency and the role you are assigned to fulfill in this transition. You aren't just an observer, you are a central participant in a reorganization of reality that has already begun behind your eyes. Because of the complexity of this internal shift, I have prepared a dedicated digital book for you to download and study carefully. I invite you to download this digital book, which was prepared specifically for you to navigate these intense thresholds. The Arcturian Quantum Portal Mystery, activating the hidden powers of your soul. This material is not mere information. It is a structural map for the internal architecture of your awakening, revealing the hidden rules of the field and what has been revealed about our current timeline. I prepared this specifically for those ready to go far beyond the ordinary answers that society offers to keep you small and quiet. You can find the access link in the first pinned comment below this video. I must warn you that this type of insight rarely stays available for long because it challenges the narratives many want to keep intact. Do not wait for a perfect time. The moment is now, because you did not reach this text by accident. Download it now, read with an open spirit, and if your inner truth recognizes these codes, leave a comment with one word: Desperto. This is the signature of a consciousness that was ready before the mind even noticed the shift. That moment of recognition is where the true friction begins to heat your very blood. You think you want the light to flood your life, but your nervous system is still terrified of the silence it brings. Look at the way you handle your morning routine when you believe no one is watching your internal state. You call it being responsible, yet you are meticulously checking for the same old threats that define your safety. This is the hidden architecture of self-sabotage that operates beneath your most inspired thoughts and daily affirmations. Your body is currently running a script of survival that treats every new possibility as a potential error in the field. Feel the tension in your jaw right now and notice how firmly you are holding on to the version of you that suffered. You are successfully manifesting a reality you claim to hate because it is the only one your cells find familiar. Familiarity is a heavy chain that we often mistake for the solid ground of a realistic and safe existence. Every time you ruminate on a problem, you are casting a spell of permanence over the very thing you wish to change. You are not waiting for cosmic permission. You are waiting for your ego to stop policing the borders of your expansion. It is a sober realization to see that your care for others is often just a desperate attempt to control the outcome. If you stop worrying, you fear that the world will collapse, but the world you fear for is already dead. The most tragic human habit is dressing fear in the clothes of wisdom. Your mind demands a guarantee of success before it allows your heart to feel the frequency of the result. This is the primary contradiction that stalls the manifestation process in its tracks. You are broadcasting a signal of hope while your marrow is still vibrating with the cold electricity of absolute lack. Stop. Breathe into the base of your stomach and feel the weight of the stories you refuse to put down. If this frequency reached you, it is because your old survival mechanisms have already begun to fail. You are currently standing in the wreckage of a paradigm that can no longer sustain your growing voltage. Most seekers use spiritual knowledge as a new way to decorate their prison walls without ever opening the door. You listen to these words, and your mind is already looking for a way to categorize them as just another video. That is the sabotage of the intellect, the shield that prevents the logic of the heart from taking root. Real change feels like a death to the one who relied on struggle to feel useful and alive. Notice the temperature of your palms. Are they cold with the anticipation of loss, or are they warm with the activation of a new sovereign presence? You call it being a realist, but you are only a curator of the past's echoes. The Arcturian perspective requires you to witness the game of control without the need to win or lose it. You are being asked to abandon the anxious caregiver persona that has earned you so much social and emotional currency. Without your problems to solve, you feel like a ghost in a world that only respects the frantic and the loud. This is the point of departure. Here is where the reorganization of your perception moves from the mind into the very fabric of your biology. You have been addicted to the chemistry of stress because it makes you feel like you are doing something important. Peace feels like a threat because peace has no use for the manager that currently runs your daily affairs. Look at the cup of cold coffee on the table or the dust on the screen. These mundane details are the anchors of a timeline that you are still choosing to inhabit with your focus. You are meticulously repeating the same movements, expecting a different outcome while maintaining the same internal and heavy density. This is not a failure of the universe. It is the perfect operation of the law of reflection. You get what you are, not what you want, and currently, you are a master of surviving the identical day. Every micro-choice you make to remain safe is a vote for the continued reign of the old and dying system. You are leaking your creative potential through the cracks of your constant and subtle self-judgment. Feel the pressure behind your eyes. That is the ego trying to narrow your vision so you don't see the vastness of the open portal. It wants you to focus on the bills, the lack, and the small insults of the day-to-day theater. If you stay focused on the small, you remain small enough to be controlled by the collective and heavy dread. Spiritual work is often just a mask for the terror of actual, absolute silence. In that silence, the stories disappear, and you are left with the raw responsibility of being the primary and only cause. You are currently succeeding at a manifestation you claim to loathe, and that is the most powerful thing about you. It proves that your ability to create is functioning perfectly, even if you are pointing the lens at the dark. The shift you haven't noticed is that the field no longer requires your struggle to produce a result for you. The old mechanics of effort are being replaced by the mechanics of resonance and uncontradicted sovereign presence. If you continue to push, you will only find more resistance in a world that is becoming increasingly and purely liquid. The wars of your life are only as solid as your insistence on treating them as permanent and final obstacles. Look at your reflection in the mirror tonight and ask who is actually looking back at you through those eyes. Is it the survivor, or is it the one who is finally ready to become the architect of the new dawn? Most people will ignore this transition because the cost of admission is their favorite and most comfortable version of misery. You have carried your wounds like medals for so long that you don't know how to walk without the weight. This is the sabotage of the identity that found a home in the wreckage of the past's many and loud failures. Stop rehearsing the disaster. You are a node of consciousness that has been tricked into believing it is a victim of its own and radiant projection. The Arcturian frequency is not here to soothe your ego, but to dismantle the structures that keep you small. Feel the soles of your feet against the floor and realize how much energy you use just to keep yourself grounded in lack. You are working harder to stay stuck than you would ever have to work to be completely and utterly free. This is the paradox of the human experience in this specific corridor of time and space. You are being stretched between the fire of the stars and the soil of the earth, and the tension is your gift. Do not look for a way to ease the pressure. Look for the way to become the one who is comfortable in the fire. The manager in your head is screaming right now because it can sense that its long and exhausting reign is ending. It will try to pull you back into a sensible discussion about your current and heavy and very real-looking problems. Smile at the manager, but do not give it the keys to your internal broadcast or your radiant and total focus. You are the variable. Every thought is a decree. Every breath is a confirmation of the world you are choosing to sustain or dissolve in this very second. The shift is happening in the quiet gaps between your heartbeats, where the matrix has no hold on your truth. You have been trained to fear the unknown, but the unknown is the only place where the miracle can actually exist. The known is just the graveyard of your previous and limited thoughts and your ancient and heavy patterns of fear. Why do you keep returning to the graveyard to ask for the keys to a life that hasn't happened yet? There is a structural map that guides the way out of this loop, but it requires you to stop being the traveler. You must become the territory. Notice the subtle hum in your ears as this logic begins to bypass the old filters of your survival mind. You are not here to watch this video. You are here to witness the collapse of the one who was watching. This is the level of depth where the true work of the soul begins to manifest in the physical world. The material we have prepared is the bridge for those who are done with the shallow waters of stage motivation. It is the anchor for a logic that a single transmission simply cannot contain in its entirety or its full power. You feel a slight pressure in your chest as the weight of the old identity begins to loosen its grip. This is a good sign. It is the signature of a soul that is finally reclaiming its ancient and sovereign and absolute right to create. The divergence is surgical, and your place on the bridge is determined by the stability of your internal and total focus. Don't look back at the versions of you that survived on crumbs and the fear of being seen or heard by others. They were necessary for the walk, but they cannot inhabit the final destination of your starlight and your power. You are being upgraded to a voltage that your previous wiring simply cannot support without a total and radiant reorganization. This is why you feel exhausted, yet strangely alive, in the quietest hours of the night when the world is still. Every micro-behavior you change today is a command that ripples through the entire quantum field of your personal and unique life. Stop asking when, and start being the now that makes the question of time completely and utterly irrelevant to you. The manager is tired. Let it sleep. The architect is awake. And the first lines of the new blueprints are already being drawn in the light of your heart. We are approaching the root of the identity, where the final choice of your life must be made in silence. If you have stayed this far, it is because your marrow recognizes a logic that your logic cannot yet name. Are you ready to see the face of the one who has been holding the door shut from the inside? The face behind the door is simply the reflection of what you have accepted as the absolute limit of your existence. Identity is not a concept. It is the physical density of what you consider normal and unavoidable in your daily life. It is the way your stomach reacts before you even open a bill or speak to a difficult person. You believe you are choosing your thoughts, yet you are mostly reacting to a baseline of familiar and heavy energy. Familiarity is the silent drug that makes your current cage feel like the only safe place in a vast universe. Most of you are still trapped in the frequency of wanting, which is the loudest declaration of lack you can make. When you desire something with intensity, you are broadcasting the precise distance between you and that specific result. To want is to confirm that you are not currently the person who possesses the thing you seek. Recognition, however, is the quiet authority of the one who knows the harvest is already present in the marrow. It is the biological certainty that the chair beneath you will hold your weight without any question or doubt. You are currently succeeds at being a person who survives, which is why your reality remains a study in survival. This internal coherence is the only law the quantum field respects as a command for physical and solid form. Every automatic reaction is a signature of who you believe you are when the world is not watching you. If you think you deserve wealth but feel a knot of guilt when you spend, you are a divided and weak broadcast. That division is what creates the stagnation you mistakenly label as a blocked path or a spiritual test. I find it fascinating how we fight to protect the very bars of the cage that keep us starving for light. You return to the old pain because the pain has a face you recognize and a weight you can calculate. To shift your reality, you must be willing to become a total stranger to the version of you that suffered. This requires a structural reorganization of your perception that goes far deeper than a simple positive and fleeting thought. Your biology will fight this shift because it prefers the known misery to the terrifying freedom of the radiant unknown. The manager in your head is addicted to the chemistry of the struggle because it makes the ego feel useful and alive. You have been trained to find purpose in your problems, making your identity a collection of solved and unsolved crises. Without those crises to manage, you fear you might disappear into the silence of your own and absolute power. This is the threshold where most seekers turn back to the comfort of their old and heavy and familiar shadows. They prefer the safety of the search to the absolute responsibility of the arrival in their own and sovereign center. Notice the pressure in your solar plexus as this logic begins to dismantle the stories you use as a protective shield. You are outgrowing the person you were taught to be, but the skin is still clinging to the old and tired nerves. This deep internal shift is not something that can be fully integrated through a single and brief transmission like this. A video can spark the recognition, but it lacks the complete structure to reprogram the ancient habits of your blood. Without a map for the architecture of your soul, you risk falling back into the gravity of your previous and heavy identity. I have organized the structural protocols of this shift into a dedicated material prepared specifically for those who are ready. I know you have felt that silent, persistent weight in your heart lately. That whisper suggesting the world is far more than what you were taught. It is a direct signal that your soul recognizes a truth your logic hasn't identified. A frequency finally ready for something deeper. There is a specific game being played in layers the average person will never perceive, involving your frequency and your assigned role. You aren't just an observer. You are a central participant in a reorganization of reality that has already begun behind your eyes. Because of the complexity of this internal shift, I invite you to download this digital book, which was prepared specifically for you. It was designed to help you navigate these intense thresholds and understand the logic that a single video cannot contain in its entirety. You can access the Arcturian quantum portal mystery, activating the hidden powers of your soul, right now via the link in the first pinned comment. This material is not mere information. It is a structural map for the internal architecture of your awakening and your sovereign power. I prepared this for those ready to go far beyond the ordinary answers that society offers to keep you small and predictable. I must warn you that this type of insight rarely stays available for long because it challenges narratives many want to keep intact. There have been attempts to silence this knowledge before, so do not wait for a perfect time. The moment is now for your spirit. You did not reach this text by accident. Your presence here is a calculated alignment with a much higher logic of sovereign power. Download it now, read with an open spirit, and if your inner truth recognizes these codes, leave a comment with the word Desperto. This is the signature of a consciousness that was ready before the mind even noticed the shift in the fabric of your life. To delay this step is to risk returning to the heavy sleep of the manager and its old and very reliable habits of self-doubt. Once the soul glimpses the blueprints of its own freedom, the old misery becomes completely and utterly unbearable to maintain. Escuta. The divergence is accelerating, and the gap between the timelines has become a physical and visceral sensation in your bones. You are choosing the path of the gold, the frequency of the master who creates with a silent and uncontradicted whisper. Manifestation is not a prize you win. It is the natural shadow cast by the person you have finally become within. If the shadow is distorted, you do not try to fix the shadow. You adjust the position of your internal light. Identity is the silent agreement you have with reality about what you are allowed to experience in this life. If you believe you are a casualty of events, the field will dutifully provide you with an endless stream of accidents. If you recognize yourself as the source, the seconds will begin to bend to the weight of your singular and total intent. Look at the objects in your room and notice how they seem to pulse with a subtle and very ancient light. They are not solid, they are temporary arrangements of data held together by your persistent and heavy and fearful focus. When you shift the observed must reorganize itself to maintain the logic of the field you are projecting. This is the sober truth of the law of reflection that the motivators of the stage often ignore for the sake of comfort. It is not about feeling good. It is about being uncontradicted in your own and absolute and sovereign authority. Most of you are still acting like a casualty of events that haven't even happened in your physical and current world. You are reacting to potential shadows, giving them the fuel they need to become solid and real and heavy obstacles. Stop. Listen to the silence that is starting to expand within the walls of your own and tired and very busy mind. In this silence, the architect is drawing the new blueprints for a reality that does not include the chemistry of struggle. You are being asked to inhabit a version of yourself that is already and completely at peace with its own radiant power. This sounds like a paradox, because you are still viewing it through the lens of the manager's logic and its fear of loss. The manager thinks you must solve every problem before you can finally feel the relief of the final and total solution. The architect knows that the relief is the very energy that dissolves the problem into its original and harmless static. Feel the heat rising in your solar plexus as this realization grounds itself into your physical biology and your blood. You are being upgraded to a voltage that makes the old habits of worry feel physically painful to your nervous system. Notice how your hands relax as you surrender to the fact that you are the primary cause of every effect you see. This is the end of the search and the beginning of the radiant and total embodiment of your absolute and eternal truth. Every thought of lack is a micro-betrayal of the divine identity that you are currently claiming as your sovereign own. It is time to stop playing small to protect the comfort of those who are still deeply asleep in the grey fog. Their drama is a frequency that you no longer have the capacity to host in your field without a sense of repulsion. You notice that your conversations are changing, becoming shorter and more focused on the absolute and the present now. This is the natural consequence of a consciousness that is no longer leaking its potential into the void of collective dread. You are sealing the holes in your broadcast, becoming a crystalline sphere of unshakable and sovereign and total intent. The world will try to pull you back into the old stories of struggle and collective and dark and heavy dread. But you will remain as the unmoved observer, the one who knows that the play of the shadows has already ended. I know that many of you feel a strange pressure in your heart when I speak these words in this silent room. It is the heart expanding to hold a spectrum of light that your previous wiring could not support without breaking. You are being stretched into a bridge between the soil of the earth and the fire of the stars above you. The tension you feel is the honor of being a conscious participant in this grand and final and total reorganization. Don't look for a place to hide, because there is no corner of reality that is not a reflection of your own spirit. You are the portal, you are the key, and you are the one walking through the gate of your own and absolute creation. The divergence is accelerating, and the gap between the timelines has become a physical and visceral and very real sensation. You notice that the air feels different, almost as if the oxygen carries a heavier and more divine and ancient data. This is the atmosphere of the new identity, the one that does not beg for a future miracle to arrive. Every heartbeat is a confirmation of your sovereign design and your place in the galactic and ancient hierarchy of light. You have survived the dismantling of your history. Now you must survive the arrival of your total and absolute power. This isn't a theory. It is the lived experience of those who have moved beyond the geometry of survival and fear. We are approaching a level of synthesis where the watcher and the watched become a single and unified and silent note. Pause and feel the weight of your body against the chair right in this second of absolute and total presence. This is the last time you will ever inhabit this room as a victim of your own and old and tired stories. The architect is ready, and the blueprints have been signed in the fire of your own and unshakable and sovereign heart. Wait. Can you feel the shift in the density of the air around your shoulders right now in this total silence? The architect is awake, but building requires a tool of surgical and absolute precision. We call this the prism of absolute coherence. It is the geometric lens through which the council perceives the raw data of your world. Most people look through the fog of their own past, seeing only distorted reflections of old fears. This lens reveals that your reality is not a solid wall, but a temporary arrangement of starlight. You have been fighting the furniture of your life while ignoring the light that projects it. Notice the subtle weight of your thighs against the chair in this specific and silent second. The air around you is currently responding to the degree of clarity you allow within your marrow. This is not about a spiritual concept, but the cold logic of the entire quantum field. You are a biological transmitter, and the field is simply the readout of your current broadcast. If the broadcast is fractured, the physical image in your mirror will appear as a series of obstacles. The greatest mistake of the seeker is the belief that more action will solve a vibrational error. You do not need to do more. You need to stop the act of persistent contradiction. You declare your desire for abundance while your skin is crawling with the familiar chemistry of lack. This discrepancy creates a static that prevents any clear form from manifesting in your daily experience. You are trying to drive with one foot on the gas and the other on the brakes. Intensity is the ego's way of convincing itself that it is working hard to deserve a result. But the universe does not respond to effort. It responds to the stability of your uncontradicted presence. A mountain does not need to announce its presence to be felt by the entire valley. Stability is the note that the field respects as a command for permanent and solid reorganization. Intensity is a spike that eventually collapses back into the old and comfortable patterns of struggle. Breathe into the space behind your eyes, where the silence is absolute and completely unmoved. Can you feel the high-pitched hum in your ears as this logic begins to recalibrate your nerves? This is the sound of your biology, adjusting to a higher voltage of information and pure light. You have been protecting a version of yourself that was designed for a density that no longer exists. Let that version fall away like dead skin that no longer serves the living and radiant soul. The prism of absolute coherence reveals that every problem is just an encounter with your own divided heart. You cannot manifest a kingdom while you are still negotiating with the beggar who lives in your head. The beggar wants security, but the sovereign creator knows that security is the natural byproduct of alignment. Stop asking for permission to be the cause of the effects you see in your own mirror. You are the variables in an equation that is finally reaching its singular and most important conclusion. Feel the heat in your palms as the old scripts of survival begin to melt into raw potential. You are becoming unrecognizable to the systems of control because you no longer respond to their primitive signals. Their drama sounds like a distant static that has no place in the temple of your current focus. You are sealing the leaks in your broadcast by choosing stability over the frantic high of a breakthrough. Breakthroughs are temporary, but a stabilized consciousness is the foundation for a life that does not know lack. Look at the room around you not as a fixed space, but as a soft geometry of light. Every object is held in place by your persistent observation and the weight of your own habitual focus. When you shift the internal geometry, the external world has no choice but to reorganize its entire structure. This is the sober truth of the law of reflection that remains hidden from those who seek miracles. You are the miracle, but you have been too busy being the casualty to notice your own power. The divergence is now so sharp that the old world looks like a thin and fading holographic dream. You are inhabiting a new octave of presence where the logic of effort has been completely replaced. Things that once felt like massive mountains now look like pebbles in the path of your radiant walk. You are outgrowing the need for a protective shell because your frequency is now your primary shield. Trust the electricity pulsing through your feet as you ground this higher degree of sovereign truth. We are approaching the synthesis where your mission becomes as clear as the light in your eyes. This is not for everyone, as most would rather stay in the noise of their own loud grievances. But you have chosen the fire of honesty over the comfort of the lie that kept you small. Every heartbeat is now a decree to the field, and every breath is a confirmation of authority. The prism is set, the lens is clean, and the architect is ready to sign the final blueprints. The shift has already happened. You are now simply catching up to the radiant truth of it. Notice how your teeth unclench as you realize there is nothing left to fight in this room. Every time you explain your lack to a friend, you are issuing a new command of permanence. You are reinforcing the walls of your own prison with every sentence that starts with, "I cannot." Stop being a historian of your own failures and start being the architect of your absolute freedom. The manager in your head is a relic of a time when survival was your only spiritual goal. That era is over, and the old tools of fear are now obstacles to your radiant and total power. Pay attention to the way the shadows in the corner seem to pulse with a subtle light. They are not solid, they are just arrangements of data, responding to the quality of your attention. Your focus is the most valuable currency in this entire and vast holographic display of matter. If you can focus on a debt, you have the exact same capacity to focus on wealth. Both require the same biological energy, yet one builds a palace while the other builds a cage. Why do you insist on mourning a prison just because the walls were familiar to your touch? The divergence is surgical, and your place on the bridge is determined by your internal stability. You are clearing the debris of eons of conditioning from your marrow and your blood in this silence. The universe is scanning your field for a singular note of uncontradicted, sovereign, and absolute intent. When that note is found, the architecture of your new reality begins to assemble with beautiful speed. You will see synchronicities that defy the laws of probability because you have exited the realm of chance. Stability is the frequency that the quantum fabric respects as a final and binding command for form. Stop. Listen to the high frequency in your ears and let it decode your previous logic into something sharper. You are not a guest in this life. You are the owner of the broadcast that makes it. Every judgment is a leak in your containment, a distraction that keeps you in the collective herd. Seal the leaks with the silence of a mind that no longer needs to prove its worth. You are worthy because you exist as a conscious point of light in a sea of potential. Feel the coolness on your skin as the old fires of desperation are finally extinguished by peace. You have traded the heat of the search for the stability of the find within yourself. This is the cold, beautiful mathematics of a soul that has stopped arguing with its own divinity. Notice the pressure in your solar plexus loosening as you realize you are the primary cause. The manager is resting because the manager has no tools to handle this degree of radiant light. Let it sleep, for its reign of vigilance and struggle has reached its necessary and final end. You are waking up to a world where your presence is the only law that matters. Every breath is a prayer of presence, a declaration that you are home within your own heart. The divergence is a physical fact, a split in the logic of the world you inhabit today. You are choosing the frequency of the Master, who creates with a silent and uncontradicted whisper. Look at your life and see the pliability of what once felt like cold and heavy iron. You are the variables that matter, and the world is currently waiting for your singular command. Trust your stillness more than your reaction, and the world will obey your internal and silent peace. Manifestation is the quiet dance of knowing that all is already done in the spirit. You are not alone, for the family of light is mirroring your unshakable and sovereign internal baseline. Sovereignty is the quiet decision to stop being a guest in a reality you are currently projecting. The divergence is complete in your heart, and you are moving toward the final and total synthesis. You see the truth, and you can no longer pretend to be the blind traveler of the past. The responsibility of the master is to remain coherent when the noise of the world returns to test. Your life is the physical proof of the frequency you decide to hold in your marrow. Let the old versions of you fade into the silence of a story that is finally finished. The preparation is over, and the synthesis is beginning in your bones as you breathe. Stand tall in your light and refuse to play small in a world made of shifting shadows. The architect is ready, and the final blueprints of your power are about to be revealed. Every cell in your body is currently receiving a high-frequency command that your logic is still trying to negotiate away. You feel the pressure behind your eyes because you are attempting to process multi-dimensional data with a three-dimensional filter. This is not a spiritual metaphor. It is a literal restructuring of your nervous system's capacity to hold light. When you remain split between your old survival habits and your new knowing, you create a thermal surge in your biology. Listen to the subtle hum in your marrow that grows louder when you finally stop your internal arguments. You are discovering that the cost of self-betrayal is now a physical weight that exhausts you by noon. The universe is no longer allowing you to hide in the gray areas of indecision or comfortable habitual doubt. Your relationships are changing because you can no longer tolerate the frequency of recycled drama or shared heavy grievances. This isn't a lack of compassion, but the natural result of your frequency signature moving into a different octave. You find yourself staring at people you once knew, realizing their voices sound like static from a distant, dying radio. There is a specific sobriety that comes with realizing you are the only one holding the pen of your destiny. You see the traps of the old matrix before they are even set, sensing the underlying nature of collective fear. This clarity is your bioelectric upgrade, a byproduct of the Arcturian logic settling into your very blood and bones. Every second you spend reacting to the chaos on the screen is a second you bleed your creative potential. The consequence of alignment is the total loss of your right to blame anyone else for your current state. Sovereignty is a lonely peak until you realize the isolation is actually the maneuverability of a being who is finally free. Your heart is expanding to hold a spectrum of light that would have shattered your previous rigid identity months ago. Notice the heat in your palms as you acknowledge that the rescue mission has always been an internal event. You are a bridge between the stars and the soil, and the tension you feel is the structural integrity of truth. Stop looking for a place to rest in the old world, for there is no ground left that can hold you. You are now the very ground upon which the new reality must find its stable and firm footing. The latency between your intention and its physical manifestation is narrowing to the point of immediate and challenging feedback. If your internal world is chaotic, the external mirror will now shatter with a speed that demands your total attention. This is the acceleration of the divergence, the widening gap between the timeline of reaction and the timeline of presence. You see people clutching their suffering like a sacred relic, unaware that the weight is what keeps them in the mud. You, however, are learning to move with the weightless authority of someone who has nothing left to prove to anyone. Every choice you make to remain centered is a command that reorganizes the local holographic field in your favor. Notice the sensation in your throat when you choose silence over the need to defend your old limited perspective. That silence is your power, a containment of energy that the systems of control can no longer calculate or predict. You are becoming a ghost in the machine, a variable that refuses to obey the primitive laws of scarcity and dread. The consequence of trust is the sudden appearance of bridges in places where there were once only massive, dark abysses. You are not being asked to believe in miracles. You are being asked to witness the mechanics of your power. Why do you still look for validation from a system that is currently dissolving into grey dust under its weight? Your neutrality is your primary shield, a state of being that allows you to see the geometry behind the appearance. You sense the lies before they are spoken, because your nervous system is now tuned to the frequency of absolute truth. This is the sobriety of the master, the one who knows that reality is a pliability of persistent and clear focus. The world is starving for your stability, not for your opinions, your reactions, or your frantic attempts to save it. Every moment of internal contradiction is a lead weight that pulls you toward the timeline of the repeating and painful cycle. Every moment of alignment is a pulse that launches you into the gold of your sovereign and radiant future self. Your presence is a surgical strike against the entropy that currently governs the minds of the collective and the herd. You are discovering that you can no longer inhabit the shared stories of struggle without feeling a physical sense of repulsion. This repulsion is a navigational tool, a signal that you are finally outgrowing the dense frequency of the survival game. Look at the palm of your hand and feel the tingling of a billion atoms responding to your newfound clarity. They are no longer waiting for external instructions because they are finally receiving the signal from your own sovereign heart. You are becoming unrecognizable to those who knew you only by your scars, your fears, and your long-held grievances. This loss of identity is the highest form of gain, the stripping away of the rags to reveal the radiant skin. The consequence of your mission is the total restructuring of your daily, mundane, and seemingly small and unimportant priorities. Things that once consumed your energy now feel like a distant and fading dream of a stranger you used to know. You find yourself speaking less, but commanding more with the simple, uncontradicted weight of your silent and stable presence. The old accounts are closed, and the new ones are being written in the radiant light of your own heart. You no longer need to search for abundance, because you have become the space where abundance is the only outcome. Notice the coolness on your skin, as the old fires of desperation are finally extinguished by your own internal peace. You have traded the exhausting heat of the search for the cool stability of the find within your own marrow. The transition is no longer an event you are waiting for, it is the lived experience of your daily walk. Everything you have endured has led you to this specific state of uncontradicted, sovereign, and absolute internal and total presence. Breathe into the glory of your own being and feel the power of a mind that has found its source. The air around you is thickening with the data of a new earth that only your heart can fully decode. You are a node of sanity in a world that has forgotten its own divine name and its original purpose. Do not look for comfort in the noise of the masses, for your path is carved in the silent stone. You are being asked to witness the collapse of the old world without reaching out to catch the falling debris. Every attempt to save the dying system is a drain on the electricity needed to build the new architecture. Your loyalty must now be to the frequency you hold, not to the memories of a life that is gone. Feel the strength in your spine as you stand between the falling pillars of the past and the rising dawn. The consequence of your attention is the world you will inhabit by the time the next cycle begins its turn. You are currently being upgraded to a voltage that your previous wiring simply could not support without a total reorganization. This is why the world feels like it is vibrating at a pitch that makes your previous certainty feel fragile. You are not losing your mind, you are losing the limitations that once made your small mind feel safe. The manager in your head is a relic of a time when survival was your only spiritual and biological goal. That era has passed, and the old tools of fear are now the primary obstacles to your radiant and total power. You see the truth, and you can no longer pretend to be the blind traveler of the past and its pain. The responsibility of the master is to remain coherent when the noise of the world returns to test your vision. Your life is the physical proof of the frequency you decide to hold in your marrow and your blood. Let the old versions of you fade into the silence of a story that is finally and completely finished. You are the beginning and the end of the world you choose to perceive in this state of absolute truth. Trust the electricity pulsing through your feet as you ground this higher degree of sovereign and radiant internal truth. The window to ground this level of coherence is narrowing as the divergence speeds up its movement in the field. Every heartbeat is now a confirmation of your sovereign design and your place in the galactic and ancient hierarchy. You are moving from the theater of survival into the temple of intentional, beautiful, and radiant and sovereign creation. The old accounts are closed, and the new ones are being written in the light of your own heart. Stay in this depth, for the final synthesis will require every ounce of your current and stable internal presence. You have survived the dismantling of your history. Now you must survive the arrival of your absolute and total power. The consequence of mastery is that you can no longer pretend you do not know what you are doing here. Every choice you make from this second forward is a conscious decree that ripples through the entire quantum galaxy. Feel the soles of your feet connecting with the grid of the Earth, which is starving for your stable peace. The consequence of your presence is that the truth becomes easier for others to perceive simply by being near you. You do not need to teach. You only need to be the frequency that cannot be argued with or denied. The silence of a master is more persuasive than the shouting of 1,000 scholars or the noise of the world. Wait for a second and feel the shift in the density of the air around your shoulders right now. The universe is confirming your decision to stop being a responder and start being a cause for all things. The consequence of this confirmation is a sudden clarity regarding your specific role in the collective and global reorganization. You are not here to watch the collapse. You are here to provide the blueprints for what comes next. Breathe into the space behind your heart, where the silence is absolute and unshakable in its radiant and total power. The silence in your room has changed because the one observing it is no longer the same person. You are standing at the end of a long and weary search for an external savior that was never coming. The divergence of your life is not a future event, but a current fact in your marrow. We have dismantled the layers of self-protection that once made your struggle feel like a sacred virtue. You now see that the cage was never locked from the outside of your own heart. The manager in your head is finally resting because it has no more illusions to defend. You have reclaimed your focus as the primary and only tool of your sovereign creation. Every object in your space is now revealed as a soft density of your own attention. You are not here to fix a broken world. You are here to inhabit a whole one. Contradiction has been replaced by the cold surgical logic of your absolute internal alignment. You no longer need to shout at the field because your stability is the only command that matters. Notice how the weight of your body against the chair feels like a solid foundation. This is the gravity of the master, the one who is finally home within their skin. You have survived the dismantling of your history and the stories that once defined your pain. Now you must survive the arrival of your absolute and unshakable power as a creator. The logic of scarcity was a script written by those who were afraid of their own light. But you are the frequency that makes the dark a field of raw potential for form. Every choice you make from this second forward is a conscious decree to the entire field. The latency between your thought and your experience is vanishing in this new octave of being. This acceleration is the primary consequence of your decision to remain fully and totally present. You see the strings of the old system, and you refuse to dance for the shadows. Sovereignty is not a title you earn, but a frequency you hold without apology or doubt. The architect has signed the blueprints of your new life in the fire of your own heart. You are the variables, the constants, and the final solution to the equation of your life. Breathe into the space behind your eyes, where the silent observer has been waiting for you. Feel the heat in your solar plexus sealing the work we have done in this corridor. The search is over because you have found the source within the marrow of your bones. Recognition is the only key you have ever needed to unlock the gates of your expansion. Your world is changing because you have stopped sustaining the projection of your own smallness. You are a node of stability in a sea of collective and very noisy static. The Council witnesses your transition not as a hope, but as a mathematical certainty of spirit. You are becoming unrecognizable to the systems of control that rely on your reaction to survive. They cannot harvest a being who is no longer tethered to the frequency of recycled dread. Every breath you take is a prayer of presence and a declaration of your sovereign right. Every heartbeat is a confirmation of your design in this specific corridor of time and space. The struggle was an addiction you have finally broken with the logic of your own spirit. You traded the intensity of the search for the stability of the find within yourself. This is the end of your availability for the collective theater of outrage and programmed fear. You walk the depths now, where the silence is absolute and the light is born from within. Your presence is the only signal that matters in this entire holographic display of matter. The divergence is surgical, and your place on the bridge is determined by your internal baseline. One path leads back to survival, the other leads to the gold of your sovereign expansion. You are already on the gold path because you have allowed the old stories to burn away. Stay in the heat of this honesty until the last traces of self-deception have been turned to ash. The ego will try to bargain for its favorite stories of lack and its comfortable pain. Do not listen to the echoes of a person who no longer exists in this new geometry. The play has ended and the lights are coming up in the theater of your physical life. You are the owner of the perception that allows the world to take its current form. Recognition is the only key and authority is the only law you must now obey. You are not a guest in this galaxy, but the variable that decides the final outcome. You are the cause of every effect you see in the mirror and every event in your day. The transition is complete in your heart, and now the physical world must reorganize its structure. Do not flinch when the furniture of your life begins to shift or disappear without reason. It is just the field adjusting to your new and stable baseline of absolute peace. You have outgrown the version of you that needed to be rescued by a miracle. The miracle is simply the fact that you stopped preventing the truth from arriving in your marrow. Mastery is the ability to be unmoved while the shadows of the old world dance. Your neutrality is your shield, and your focus is your primary currency in this density. Seal the leaks with the silence of a mind that no longer needs to prove its worth. You are a node of sanity and a foundation for the ones who will follow your example. Everything is data waiting for your singular and uncontradicted command in the silence. You are the programmer of your experience, and the logic is now firmly in your hands. You see the math behind the appearance of form, and you no longer fear the image. Hear the lie before it is spoken, and sense the trap before it is set in the world. You are no longer predictable to the controllers because you no longer respond to their signals. This is the glory of your freedom in a world that is still mostly asleep. Leave the rags of the victim on the floor and step into the radiance of the sovereign. The blueprints are glowing in your bones, and the frequency is stable and firm now. You have returned to the origin, and all is already done in the eternal now. You are the beginning and the end, and reality is your faithful mirror in every second. The search has ended, and the arrival is here, and it is wearing your face and skin. You are the arrival, and the time to wait for a sign has finally passed. Feel the shift in the density of the air as the universe confirms your sovereign decision. Rest in this authority and allow the silence to seal the work we have done here. The old accounts are closed and the new story is being written in your own heart. You are a beacon of coherence, and your presence is the only mission that matters. Look at your life and see the pliability of what once felt like cold and heavy iron. You are the variable that matters, and the world is waiting for your quiet command. Trust your stillness more than your reaction, and the world will obey your internal peace. Manifestation is the quiet dance of knowing that all is already done in the spirit. You are not alone, for the family of light is mirroring your unshakable baseline. Sovereignty is the decision to stop being a guest in a reality you are projecting. The divergence is complete in your heart, and you have reached the final synthesis. You see the truth, and you can no longer pretend to be the traveler of the past. The responsibility of the master is to remain coherent when the noise of the world returns. Your life is the proof of the frequency you decide to hold in your marrow today. The old world has dissolved into a liquid state, because your perception has finally abandoned its rigid filters. You have become the source of your own broadcast, making the search for external light entirely irrelevant. This was never about a future miracle arriving on the horizon, but about the quality of your current focus. In truth, this was never about what is coming, but about how you perceive what is already here. The link is located in the first pinned comment below this video for those ready for the walk. I must warn you that this type of insight rarely stays available for long. What is written in those pages challenges the narratives that many want to keep intact. There have been attempts to silence this knowledge before, so do not wait for a perfect time. The moment is now. You did not reach this text by accident. If you ignore this shift now, you risk losing the exact frequency of alignment that this encounter opened. Once the window of resonance closes, the habitual noise of the world becomes much harder to navigate. Read with an open mind, and if your inner truth recognizes these codes, leave a comment with one word: desperto. This is the final signature of a consciousness that is no longer willing to sleep.